Hi, I'm Robert Vendetti, professional comic book writer, and I want you to know about the new Bad Idea comic book series, Tankers. As the world well knows, I'm what's called a method writer. That means before I begin a project, I don't just study the material, So to take a deep dive into the subject, I came to the one place on Earth where I can operate mechanized combat equipment, dig for oil, and shoot dinosaurs. XT, baby! I'm down to the tank! No oil yet? Every second of my immersive research experience guarantees that Tankers is unlike anything you've read from me before. I should know. I've read everything I've ever written. Tankers is about a crack team of mercenaries and mech suits who work for Greenleaf Oil. They get sent back in time to divert the comet that killed the dinosaurs. More dinosaurs in the past means more oil in the present. Who doesn't love that? And with a superstar art team providing breathtaking covers and interiors, Tankers is an action-fueled thrill ride of human versus dinosaur warfare that we can't wait for you to read. So go ahead, order Tankers today. I guarantee I'll be glad you did. As for me, I'll be finishing off these dinosaurs. Extinction Day! Extinction Day.
We know this has been a difficult time for you. We know you are scared. Here at Regenerist Tech we have developed a safe and effective solution to our worldwide problem. Trust Regenerist. We give you back your life.
What's up, everybody? I am Kyle. Joining me momentarily will be my co-host and friend on this show and in real life, which is a weird way to put it. I don't know why I said it that way. I need an editor for the things that I say that come out of my mouth. Do any of you edit real life comic book editors? Anybody out there? No? Anyhow, I will be joined by Dan Wickline in just a moment, and we will be talking about the books we're reading this week. The new books coming out from comic book companies all over the planet. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Kyle. How you doing?
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Good, because I got a whole new microphone rig set up. I spent like 2 hours on Zoom with a friend today trying to get it working.
Very cool. Yeah, you can hear you great.
Cool. Yay. Congratulations on getting stuck for the second time.
Yep. Yeah, I got that the second shot.
Nice.
Moderna. I'm all set. So, and I'm feeling just fine.
I may or may not have been airing or interviewing Danny Fingeroth earlier, thinking, gee, I have one monster left to get me to the end of the week. And do I drink it now or do I save it? And I decided to drink it now. I have been exhausted since I got my second shot, and it's been like a month and a half.
Yeah.
So I don't know that the two things are related, but you know, we can blame it on it.
I've got a nephew who's probably the same age as you, and he got his first shot, and it knocked him around for like a week where he was just exhausted like crazy. Myself, my 78-year-old mom, not an issue. Just rolled through both shots like it was nothing.
I've been telling people after I got my first shot, I got a terrible, terrible migraine. But when I got my first shot, I also came into 2 hours on the air with Nick. So causation versus
I could see
application.
Yeah.
He may be joining us next week. We'll have to work that out. Might be a thing. Yeah.
Wow. Hardly ever hear from the guy anymore.
We may have a very special guest not named Barucci next week. I have to confirm these things. But It is Tuesday, which means new comics come out tomorrow.
Yes, it does. And we got
Where
a
did the
whole
week
bunch
go?
of great books to talk about today. Lots of new number
Yeah.
one.
It's a big book. It's a big week.
It is.
Um,
it is.
So where do you want to start?
I want to start with Batman the Detective number one, because as I was looking at this book and checking it out, this made me think of it's Batman Euro Trip. You know, this just struck me as, I mean, this is Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert. I'm a big fan of Andy Kubert's art. So anytime he's drawing Batman, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is all about Batman going on a European adventure. He's out of Gotham, he's traveling, and he doesn't have any of his normal. For a guy who's supposed to be a loner, he has an amazing support system in Gotham between, the cops kind of back him a bit, especially with Gordon. He's got Robins, like 27 Robins,
Mm-hmm.
But here he is going over to Europe. He's got no support, so he's going after a new villain called Equilibrium, and he's got to find himself a new partner over there to get some help because he's in a land he doesn't know. He doesn't know Europe. He doesn't know London.
I wonder if Fred Armisen is available from the movie Euro Trip, and he could just walk up to bad guys and go, "Mi scusi." Have you seen that movie?
Of course, I've seen that movie.
Okay, like not everybody I've met has seen that movie, but Fred Armisen in that movie is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And he should be Robin in this book.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Tom Taylor. I love Tom Taylor's writing. So for me to get behind, I'm not reading a Batman book right now. There are two this week that I'm starting, ironically. But Tom Taylor, I've been a fan of him since his work on Injustice Gods Among Us was when I really started to kind of dig into Tom Taylor.
Right.
But he had been around for a minute before that.
This is just a 6-parter, so it's not a huge investment. You get 6 issues, you get a whole it's a 26-page debut story. So you got extra value for your money.
There is a reason to pick this book up, and the length of it is a big one. The other thing about it is it's like, you're taking Batman, and who was it? Who was the writer? It wasn't Mike DeCarlo. Who was it who wrote Batman? Like when Batman went to freaking Moscow. Like the Batman Dark Knights, Moscow Nights, all of those things that, from the late 80s and 90s. It's anytime you take Batman out of Gotham, you're innately hindering the bats. And that makes the stories that much more interesting because Batman has to rely a little bit more on that Batmaniness and a little bit less on the I have tricks and things hidden all over this city.
Yep. Because
I own everything in it.
Yeah. Oh, like you don't think he owns part of London?
I'm sure he does. But when was the last time you went and did maintenance on those Batman tricks? Like
he probably sends Alfred over occasionally. Alfred gets to go visit his home turf because Alfred's British, right? He's always played by a Brit. Yeah.
Last time I checked, he was British. I mean, it'd be really weird if something like, guys, since the 60s, you believe that Alfred was British. He's actually Australian. You've been wrong since the 60s. Like, that would be weird. Of course, Alfred's British.
He's Scottish.
If Alfred's not British, my hat is not gray. Like,
he could be Scottish. He could be Irish.
I will concede that Batman is that Alfred is on Team UK or Team GB.
Yes.
Whether or not he's actually English, I will concede the point, even though I'm relatively sure is wrong.
Yeah, he's probably is English, but he's definitely from Great Britain. He could be from Wales too.
But they don't count anymore. They're not part of that thing.
No, but at the time he was created, they did.
All right, we can get into Euro politics all we want, but there's another Batman book I want to talk about.
Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo.
I had a feeling. That's why I put this one on my list as soon as I thought, here's one for Kyle.
Ruh-roh, Batman.
An all new, all ages Batman series with the Dark Knight and Scooby-Doo. I mean, that right there is just it. But I love the idea of the story is that Batman finds out that his purple gloves from his original suit are missing, and that's the mystery they're going after. No murders, no scary ghosts. Somebody took his gloves.
Yeah, but somebody's going to fall to them meddling kids.
Yes.
And it's likely going to be the old man at the end of the lane, which is just Alfred again. Like, it's I look. I got to take the cover away so I can look deeply into the camera.
Okay.
Whenever you see a crossover with an animated series in a DC book, read the book. Every one of them has been awesome. Anytime there's a new Scooby-Doo book out, read the book. I mean, Scooby Apocalypse was like a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, Scooby-Doo is dark. When was Scooby-Doo ever dark? It was always dark, but this was real dark.
But those were books that they were taking the animated characters and kind of moving them into a darker universe. This is Batman with in the Scooby-Doo universe. So it's going to be and for some reason this just struck me as funny. The last line in the solicitation is, "Will this glove story have a happy ending?"
If Batman falls in love with Velma or something,
yeah,
like that's gonna make me angry, but also it'll be hysterical. Also, shout out to my boy Matthew Lillard. Been Shaggy for a lot of years. Great dude.
And this is a 12-issue limited series. 12 issues. Does that
I'm more upset about the fact that it's only 12 issues.
But does the glove mystery take 12 issues to solve?
Maybe they're introducing the Hand. I don't. Can the Hand cross over to DC?
If not the Hand,
what? But you don't put gloves on your feet.
I know,
but it's a sock story.
Oh.
Socks or
You
feet
think
gloves?
he was wearing purple socks when he was wearing the purple gloves?
I would imagine he had to be. You got to accessorize properly.
I would think so, yeah.
Now I'm thinking about Batman's fashion choices.
Well, of course. You know, he designed Robin's costume, too.
Does that that maybe Batman's actually colorblind? That's why his suit is better as gray and black.
Oh, no. Robin was a decoy.
That's fair. I mean, you make Robin red so that the times you have to fight a bull, the bull just chases him.
Bright red suit, bright yellow cape. It's the same thing as why it's yellow on the center of his chest. It's to draw the attention.
All right. But no, guys, Batman versus Scooby-Doo. Anytime you have one of these cartoon properties in a DC book, they do a really good job with it. They're always super fun. This is an all ages Batman story. It's and when I say all ages, like that means kids can read, but it also means there's something for adults.
Yes.
And it's $2.99. When does DC ever put out a $2.99 book anymore? It seems like it's never. Remember when they drew the line at $2.99? Those were the days. But this is a chance to check out a Batman story with everybody's favorite crime-fighting Great Dane, Ruby-Dooby-Doo.
Wait, I thought Ace the Bat Hound was a crime-fighting Great Dane.
Right, but he's second.
No, he's a German Shepherd. You're right, Great Dane. Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you that.
All right. Want to talk about some other DC books that are out this week?
Sure. What about Challenge of the
Super Sons.
As soon as you hear that title, it made me think of the old Challenge of the Super Friends and cartoon series from, spin-off of the Super Friends.
We might have to cancel this show because that's exactly what I thought, and we got to get out of each other's heads for a minute.
Yeah.
But y'all, it's Jonathan and Damien back again. Written by Peter Tomasi, Max Rainer art, covers by George Jimenez. I mean,
That's a pretty crazy cover.
that is a pretty crazy cover. I just clicked over on the variant just because I hadn't looked at the variant. And the variant's by Simone DeMeo, and that's a very cool cover as well. No, I don't think it's as good as the A cover though.
Yeah, I like that A cover. The solicitation says, the boys are back, picking up where the sensational adventures of Super Sons left off. The sons of Batman and Superman are back in the spotlight and ready to give evil a good spanking. But are Robin and Superboy over their heads this time? A mysterious woman from beyond time has appeared to the DCU's favorite sons, and her arrival heralded certain doom. That's a hint, everybody. And things to come. In fact, it seems she sent the boys on a bogus journey that they've already returned from, huh? What did the boys learn when they were whisked away? Why on earth do they have to save the Flash from instant death? Tune in for this chapter in the most epic odyssey Robin and Superboy has ever been on. Yeah, I'm trying to do the Super Friends voice guy.
I understand, but I'm just sitting here going, man, we need to go back in time to get Socrates.
It's Bill and Ted's bogus adventure with the
It's
Super
Jonathan
Friends.
and Damien's bogus journey, which isn't even the best, which is the third best movie in that trilogy. Like, you know, it's look. The one thing that the Super Sons have going for them, and they've always had going for them, is this is where DC takes the time to let these two characters grow and develop. You know, in anytime they show up in either of their father's books, they yes, that is me questioning their lineage. Anyhow, whenever they show up in their father's books, they're always like older. They're always, you know, being forced to be grown-ups or something. And it never quite works out the way you want it to.
Yeah.
So this is them letting them grow up, which is fine. But I have a problem with teenage boys and spanking something. I have a problem with time travel with a mysterious woman. Did no one teach these kids stranger danger? I mean, you'd think they would have learned from Lex Luthor in the Joker, the stranger danger. You know, like I have several qualms with this book. But I do like the fact that they're letting these kids be kids in these stories. And that they're not just every 6 issues pulling Batman or Superman in to save the day.
Yeah. Though, look, as I look at this cover, I keep wondering, how long does it take Damien to put on those boots?
There's zip-ups in the back.
Oh, they'd have to be, because those are like, what, 24 whole, 24?
Yeah, probably.
Doc Martin type?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's some time.
They got to be zip-ups.
Yeah. Whereas Superboy looks like he dresses that way and just puts the jacket on.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, hey, I'm going to it's like the people who cosplay in a hoodie.
Yeah. The one who has super speed has the easy costume.
Maybe there's a commitment level problem here. Have we talked to these kids about their futures as, you know, as in terms of career aspects? Because I don't know. Just because your dad is Batman or your dad is Superman doesn't mean you have to be. And maybe there's a different commitment level. Like Damien really wants to be in, and Jonathan Kent's like, oh, I think I'm going to go study art.
Yeah, I mean, think of how good of an accountant he could be.
Right.
The speed on the 10 key, man, he'd be great.
Right. You know, I'm going to, Mom and Dad, I just want to dance.
Yes, Billy Elliot as Robin.
I'd see that. All right.
Yeah.
Also from DC, and I just have this one queued up next, so I'm just going to jump to it. Rorschach from Tom King.
And Jorge Fornes.
Yes.
Little
So
Dave.
this series is coming closer and closer to the end.
Yes. Or is it? With a story like this, it might be at its beginning, and we're just watching it backwards. And while Kyle recovers, I'll tell you that this book, Will Myerson might have been the creator of Pontius Pirate, the most popular comic in history. Pontius Pirate, I love that. Before he put on the Rorschach mask and tried to kill a would-be president, but he's not the only artist who worked on the character. Other artists fell under Will's influence, and now, all these years later, his more renowned acolyte has fallen sway to Laura, the #1 Myerson superfan. Is it possible she influenced another comic book legend into playing vigilante? The key here is that the tape the detective is trying to decipher, the one with the seance that has been haunting him since the very first issue. All this in a cameo from Dr. Manhattan. Rorschach
Do you think Tom King is trying to tell us something? Do you think maybe he needs like a wellness check? We should send somebody to his house to check on him.
You think he's running around wherever he lives in tights trying to help people?
He is a former CIA agent. It's entirely possible.
True. That's very true. He could be.
I'll be honest. Rorschach #5 was the straw that broke the proverbial pile of straws for me, and I will rejoin this series in trade format because it started getting. I can't believe I'm going to say this about something related to the Watchmen. Too weird. I expect when watching when partaking in a Watchmen associated property that there's going to be an insane level of weirdness. However, when I can't keep up with the weird, you know you've done something that no one else on the history of the planet has ever done and out-weird me.
But it's Rorschach. As weird as the Watchman is, he's like that extra level of weird.
So Rorschach is like that uncle that comes to Christmas that whole side of the family's strange, but then there's that one uncle that you're just like, did somebody drop him on his face as a child?
Yeah.
I can get behind that, but it's just for me. And I love Tom King and I love Dave Stewart's colors, and the art has been phenomenal and the covers have been great, and everything about this book has me.
Uh-huh.
But it's like I can't on a monthly schedule keep up.
You don't have that much brain synapse to shift over to this book on a monthly basis. I get it. In order to really enjoy it on a monthly schedule, I feel like I am going to have to reread every previous issue every month. So you just want to do it all at once.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's great, but I don't remember what I read last time. So now I got to go back and reread it and do it all over again. And the end of the page for me is that's better as a trade. And so that's what I'm going to do. I am still picking up the singles.
So what I'm picking up from this is that you've got the Jonathan Kent level of commitment to this series rather than the Damian Wayne.
I'm committed, but I'm committed like I am to getting off the couch and getting a burrito in the middle of a good movie. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to wait for commercials.
If it's a good movie, it doesn't have commercials. It's on a real channel.
There's always commercials. Every movie has that scene where you're like, really? Even Smokey and the Bandit 2 has those scenes. I was hoping that would get a bigger rise out of you as a joke.
That's just such an odd reference.
It was on TV today.
Daddy. Make a left.
It was
Make a
It was
be in the clear.
Columbo into Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Hey, I don't have any room to talk. I did a entire podcast a few weeks ago on the first season of Mannix. So,
Hey,
and sadly,
like I said,
it was
it's
my best reviewed podcast.
no. So we do we have one or two more DC books? I'm trying to.
One more that I had. I had the Wonder Woman 771.
That's the wrong thing. This is Wonder Woman 771.
Yes. Jordi Bellary and Becky Cloonan. This is Wonder Woman's adventures through the sphere of the gods continue as she embarks on a quest with the cunning Ratashak to search for answers. Something is changing the rules of the Norse afterlife, and it's up to our hero to set things right. Now she must face warriors and beasts of mythic proportions, starting with Nidhogg. Can our Amazon princess survive this staggering serpent? Meanwhile, in a seemingly simpler time in our hero's life, a younger Diana continues her journey to uncover the secret behind the scriptures that hold the hidden history of Themyscira. Is she ready for the truth, or will it change her perception of paradise forever? I love that they're dealing with the Norse mythology. I mean, because Norse mythology has always been Marvel. Thor, Loki, Balder, Walt Simonson, Jack Kirby, that's always been Marvel's turf. And here they're like, nah, we're going to play with it.
Well, I like that it's the Nidhogg. And that's a special reference to my friends and I. There's a video game, terrible video game called Nidhogg.
Okay.
Where you play an 8-bit man with a sword trying to kill another 8-bit man with a sword while not getting eaten by the Nidhogg. It's terrible, but it's fun, and it's super fun when you have friends who are super competitive.
Yeah. But
I can get with you. I can get with you on the whole mythology thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going after some mythology that really hasn't been their forte. Even though they've had Neil Gaiman for years, and he's kind of an expert on these things, they really haven't gone after it like you'd think they would. And using Diana Prince to do it is an interesting tact to take, because it really isn't her mythology.
Right.
Like when you have a character whose whole existence is based in a certain mythology, and now she's exploring a different mythology, what is, there's no roadmap there.
Right.
Which makes it incredibly interesting.
Yeah. Well, plus they're also tackling areas of the Norse mythology that Marvel hasn't touched, like Ratashak, the squirrel. I mean, I'd come across him in my readings before, but most recently, Kevin Hearn does a book series called The Iron Druid that deals with a lot of different mythology, and he brought up Ratashak in one of his books, and it's like, yeah, there really should be more about this freaking squirrel and how he climbs up and down Yggdrasil.
Squirrels are always a good idea. I mean, it's why Tiptoe is the greatest Marvel character. I mean,
Squirrel Girl. Yeah. Now, if she changed her name to Ratashak, I'd probably be a little more interested in the character.
I'd be less interested, ironically. All right. But no, I like DC playing around with non-DC things.
Yeah.
The only other book from DC that I kind of wanted to mention to everyone, and I didn't bother to pull a cover because I am way behind on reading it, and so I can't actually speak to it with any kind of authority, is American Vampire 1976 number 7. Which, again, I am getting, but I'm way behind. I'm only through issue 4. But, it's Scott Snyder, Francisco Francavilla. The original team from the original American Vampire. So, just know that also comes out with covers from Raphael Albuquerque.
Good team.
Mm-hmm. We have a few minutes before we go to break.
All right.
So let's hit what we have something from Scout, a couple of books from Scout real quick.
All right.
One of them is a book that I told you was coming out last week, but due to delays is also coming out this week. This has been happening a lot more with Diamond recently, where books are basically winding up with 2 release dates because half the country gets it one week, half the country gets it the next. It's actually happening with a book from Behemoth this week that I want to spend some time on. But Locust #1 in stores again this week, in some stores. This is something that we're just going to have to figure out in terms of comic publishing. And, when we do shows like this, we look at the list of what's coming out and we decide what we're going to talk about. And we don't always know what some of the shipping kerfuffles are.
It should become easier for them if they're not dealing with Marvel sometime soon.
That's not until October, and probably not, because the big problem is that when these small publishers like Scout, like Aftershock, like Behemoth, have these massive orders that come in, sometimes they're getting 2 shipments from their printer. Yeah. And it's just a matter of these things happen, but it's something that, as the indies get bigger and bigger and bigger, which is happening faster and faster and faster now, that we're just going to have to deal with. That being said, Murder Hobo, Chaotic Neutral #1. From Scout Comics. So if you didn't read Murder Hobo, the first volume, what's wrong with you? Go out and find it. It's going to be hard to find because this book is sought after. But this is a D&D story for grown-ups. In the lands of high adventure, where brave warriors seek out fame and fortune, the unlucky few will recruit a murder hobo into their ranks. Follow the further exploits of Roddy the Rotten, Big Mama Venus, and Spectra Liaison as they team up with and ruin the plans of every adventurer they come across. This series also launches a new collection of tales featuring the Frothmancer, Pimp Daddy, Lord Froth, and his army of undead gigolos, featuring 4 new tales from a new creative team. Look, if you don't know what a murder hobo is, you are one.
Murder hobo is that person in your D&D campaign that as soon as you come up against anything, it's, I want to kill it. I hit it with my sword. There's no talking. There's no role playing. It's just killing. It's just, I had to have that talk with my current D&D group. We were trying to play Dragon Heist, and I realized that this group was not the role playing type, and we need to go back to a dungeon crawl where they can just kill everything.
Yep, I was when I first started playing D&D, I was a big time murder hobo. I was the guy who, I'm piloting the ship, and there's the bad guy. I land the ship on top of him. That isn't how these things work. Nope, already rolling. If you don't know what a murder hobo is, you are one, is what I like to say. And when I do these things at conventions, you often find people who come in and they sit down at your game with the aim of being your murder hobo. They're just there to mess with you and to mess with the other players. And oftentimes it makes for a lot of fun, but oftentimes it makes for a challenging game. So don't be a murder hobo unless it's agreed upon by everyone to let you be a murder hobo.
Yep. Or unless your DM wants you to be a murder hobo, and that's when you are not. That's when you try to solve all the things before you fight.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk about murder hobos.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break because it's that time in the evening where we have to take a quick break. We will be back in just about a minute and 45 seconds here on The Experience. I'm saying that for Dan's, so Dan knows how long he's got to go get a drink. But we'll be back in about a minute 45 here on The Experience. Stick with us.
We know this has been a difficult time for you. We know you are scared. Here at Regenerist Tech we have developed a safe and effective solution to our worldwide problem. Trust Regenerist. We give you back your life.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Kyle. This is In Stores This Week. I will be rejoined momentarily by the Dan, who will be coming back from his water break any second. We are talking about books that are in stores this week, and there he is. He has returned. I was only off by about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
we are back to talking about books that are in stores this week and books we will be reading. We've covered one big company. Do you want to move to the other big company, or should we hit some indies first?
Let's hit some indies.
All right. I will start. How's that sound?
All right.
We have from Aftershock Comics, Undone by Blood, number 2. This is the second volume of Undone by Blood. This is The Other Side of Eden. Basically, this is Silvano, who is the main character, is putting his plan for revenge into action as he attempts to pull off a heist in the tallest building in Butter, Texas. Yes, the city's named Butter, like the thing you put on bread, which seems like a thing that we would call a city in Texas. He stumbled into something much larger than himself, and the Fraternal Brotherhood is waiting. If you remember, the Fraternal Brotherhood has been kind of the big baddie in both volumes. Meanwhile, legendary gunslinger Solomon Eaton tries to pull off a heist of his own, but Saul's about to learn that things don't work quite the same when you're south of the border. Look, these guys apparently are just trying to rob a Taco Bell. the book has been really solid. Do you remember when that was Taco Bell's thing? South.
I do.
Anyhow,
Run for the border. Yep.
Yeah, Run for the Border. Not Run for the Bathroom. Anyhow, but no, Undone by Blood, The Other Side of Eden has been really good. Undone by Blood Volume 1 was very good. It's Zach Thompson and Lonnie Nadler with Sammy Cavilla art. So you've got a pretty solid team here on this Aftershock book. Number one, if you go to your retailer and you ask them about an Aftershock Ambassador variant, they may have one. If they don't have an Aftershock Ambassador, they should get one.
Do you have to do the sound to get the thing?
No, but I do to get paid by Aftershock.
Oh. All right.
I'm kidding, of course, but
Sure.
no, I'm kidding, of course, but just that's my way of telling you, hey, you know, these books are wicked rare, and you've got to have your store has to have a person. As I kick over my mic processor on accident, it's new, it's in a weird spot. Anyhow, but your store has to have an Aftershock Ambassador to get these variants. They're rare, they're hard to come by, limited to 2 per store, and there's like less than 200 stores that get them. So, you know,
Worth looking for.
Mm-hmm. And then also from Aftershock, and a person who doesn't sleep nearly enough, similarly to me, you have Phantom on the Scan, number 1, by Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres. Basically, this is the story of a guy named Matthew. When he was a child, a comet fell to Earth, and it gave him incredible abilities.
Like they do.
Right. I mean, if you guys, if you've ever watched television, you know if a comet falls to Earth, don't touch it.
Just get near it so you get the amazing abilities from it.
Right. But the thing about this comet is that it doesn't just affect Matthew. This comet affected a number of other people. And every time Matthew uses the gifts that this comet gives him, he not only gets closer to other people with the same gifts, but closer to death. And as it turns out, all of the other people who got these same gifts are dying in the most horrible of ways. To save himself, Matthew gathers a group of other people with these gifts to solve the mystery of their powers before it's too late. The line I read about this book is 20 years ago, Matthew was given a gift by a comet. Now he wants to give it back. So Cullen Bunn.
Reminds me a little bit of that new TV series Debris.
Yeah.
Which I watched 6 episodes of Saturday night, and I got to say, great premise, really poorly written and acted.
Kind of like Godzilla versus Kong. Also out this week, worth noting from Aftershock, Maniac of New York, number 3, which we've talked about the first 2 times it's come out, as well as Scout's Honor, number 4, which we've talked about every time it's come out. So we're going to breeze over those guys.
All right.
But those are also out this week from Aftershock. In case you haven't noticed, Aftershock is one of my favorite publishers. It's why I sometimes work for them. But they also put out really, really good books from big names. So do you want to head over to the other big company, or you want to save that for the second hour?
Let's save that for the second hour. Let's why don't we go over to IDW and look at the big book for this week, the Lock and Key, The Sandman Universe, Hell and Gone, number 1. This is just the idea of bringing the Sandman universe. I mean, you can right there on the cover, you see Cain and Abel. You see, Death just is coming over to the Lock and Key universe. It's Joe Hill, it's Neil Gaiman, and Gabriel Rodriguez. It says, if you think you can unlock the gates of hell and just invite yourself in, you must be dreaming. The epic crossover between 2 of the most beloved fantasy universes in comics begins here. John Jack Locke is 10 years dead, but that hasn't stopped him from posting the occasional letter home from hell. Now, Mary Locke will do anything to save her brother's soul, including cut a deal with Roderick Burgess, the most evil man in England, to search for answers in the House of Mystery and risk the walking nightmare known as the Corinthian to find help in a disintegrating kingdom of dreams. Now, this sounds like it takes place when dreaming's actually being held captive by Roderick Burgess, which is early on in the Sandman series. But go ahead, Kyle. You look like you're about to explode.
So here's what you need to know, right? There's Lock and Key, the Sandman universe, and then there's Sandman, Lock and Key. Lock and Key, the Sandman universe is the story of this story told from the Lock and Key side of things, published by IDW. Now, DC is going to put out the Sandman side of this story. Neil Gaiman didn't write much of this. He kind of gave input to Joe Hill. And then the other side was written by actually not Neil Gaiman either, but he was a creative consultant on it as well. So what's interesting about it is that you're hearing two sides of the same story told from two different perspectives in this book. The reality of it is that I don't think reading the solicitation on this book does it justice. I don't think, and sometimes we read these things and it's because this is the easiest way to tell you what's happening.
Right.
But the thing about Sandman is it's such a deep bench of a mythos.
Yes.
The thing about Lock and Key is it's such a deep well. Couldn't walk away from it, Dan. I'm sorry. Of a mythos. That not knowing anything about either of these things is going to be to your detriment in this book. So I'm going to make two suggestions. One, Lock and Key on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the most realistic adaptation of the books? No. Is it the most full adaptation of the books? No. Is it going to get you everything you need to know to tell this story, to understand this story? Definitely not. However, it's going to give you a good base. And then from our friends over at Audible,
yes,
there is a wonderful audiobook of the Sandman.
Full cast with James McAvoy, Kat Denning, Michael Sheen. I'm literally listening to it right now. I just got to the part where Dream goes and saves Jed from Brute and Glop.
Mortals flicker, flash and fade. Worlds don't last. Stars and galaxies are
also, Neil Gaiman's voice reading a book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That Neil Gaiman guy kept popping up, too. It is a fantastic series. Our book. I've been listening to it. Usually on the weekends, I drive up to see my friend in Victorville. It's a 75-mile drive either way. And I've been listening to it on each trip, and it is just amazing. I'm really enjoying this. And I've not got much experience with Sandman. So this is my diving into the universe, and it is fantastic. It really is.
I would encourage you to pick up this book this week, pick up the other part when it comes out. But before you read them, watch Lock and Key on Netflix and listen to the audiobook. Now, I realize that I'm recommending you listen to how long is that audiobook?
It's
10 hours, 11 hours.
Yeah, I think it's even longer than that, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it may be longer than that, but I've got 10 hours left in my re-listen.
Yeah, so, I got 4 hours left in mine. So
right. So, like I said, it's not a small investment of time, but I think it's worth it.
Plus, it's James McAvoy is dreaming, which is awesome.
James McAvoy is always awesome.
Yeah.
Also from IDW this week,
Kanto. And the City of the Giants.
Yes.
This is David M. Boer and Sebastian Perez.
Perez. Drew Zucker variants. So, guys, remember David Boer and Drew Zucker did volume 1 of Kanto. David has continued writing. Drew has continued as a cover artist. But this is more stories from the Kanto universe This is essentially volume 3 of Kanto. So you can pick those up from anywhere to kind of get the backstory, but you don't really need it. It's a fabulous story. I wouldn't call it all ages, but it's certainly not as heavy as some of the books that come out. It's accessible for the young ones, or the younger ones, I should say. So, definitely give a look. Again, not all ages, but also not like rated M.
PG-13.
Yeah, it's a hard PG. PG-13 may even be a little strong, but it's a hard PG. But this is Kanto goes to the Kingdom of Giants to request their help in his quest to defeat the Shrouded Man. It's the same story that they've been telling. Kanto has one villain, Shrouded Man. It's the guy he's against, and he's always looking for help and people to help him on his quest. And maybe finally the Kingdom of Giants are the folks to do the job.
It's a good looking book. I love the first series. And looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. Also out from IDW this week, worth noting is you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Jenica 2, number 6, and Usagi Jimbo, number 18, for which Stan Sakai will win many more awards because it's that good.
Yep. I don't have these on my list, but I want to throw them out there just for people to pay attention. This is the Dan Abnett week, as Dan Abnett has 3 books coming out from Dynamite. He has Deja Thoris. He's got, I think it's Deja Thoris number 12. There's Vampirella, The Dark Powers, number 5. And there's Red Sonja, The Superpowers, number 4. So these are all Dan Abnett books. And if you're interested, they all have Joseph Michael Leisner variant covers. And he posts them on his Facebook page, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So if you're a Leisner fan, you got 3 new cover options this week. And there's 3 good books to pick it up. These are great series going on from Dan Abnett over at Dynamite.
Yeah. Over at Dark Horse, we have really a couple books that I want to mention. One that we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on, Young Hellboy, The Hidden Land, number 3. We've talked about Young Hellboy the last couple of times it's come out. But it's worth noting that number 3 is out from the legend Mike Mignola. But Jenny Zero, number 1, is out from
Dave Dewanch. Yeah. Dave Dewanch, Brock McKinney, and artist Magenta King.
Right. You may remember here on The Experience, we were running ads for Jenny Zero for the longest time. But the premise of Jenny Zero is that Jenny is a hard-drinking party girl who maybe likes to party a little too much. But what's interesting is who her parents are. She is the daughter of beloved superhero Mega Commander Zero. After washing out of the military's top secrets as the military's top secret kaiju killer, Jenny now lives the
Celebutante.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Paris Hilton style life. With an actual Paris Hilton type, and is just living it up. And then the giant monsters come back, and Jenny must decide if she can sober up enough to save the world. And Brock McKinney from Mad Magazine, and Dave from Cyrus Perkins and the Haunted Taxi Cab, and Magenta King is a new kind of artist on the scene doing this book. Now, there's a note. There's a big asterisk on this book, which is that a alert went out today from the publishers, from their creators, and from Diamond Comics, saying that this book is being recalled due to a massive print defect. You may still be able to find copies from your local retailer because they're going to sell it anyway. But just know that if you can't find it, it is being reshipped out May 5th. And you should definitely look for it then as well. Jenny Zero.
Do they say what the print defect is?
Let me look. I didn't save the email.
Okay. Because that would be my question. You know, did they print the wrong pages? They print them in wrong order. They printed pages from another comic. I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Jenny Zero, number 1, arriving in stores with product on sale April 14th, shipped with a significant misprint. Please destroy all copies you receive of this issue. Nope, doesn't say.
Yep, I'm going to destroy this copy by putting it in that guy's bag, and he's going to give me $3. Okay.
Just looking from other retailers, one of them said that they did the title wrong. It was supposed to read Jenny 8675309. That's really the only note of worth.
I'm assuming
as
that
it relates to this.
A joke.
It was Jenny, I've got your number.
Stop now. We got copyright issues.
Right. Except I'm singing it, which makes it a parody. So it looks like that there was a page from issue 3 that was printed by error.
Ooh.
And included in this book.
Oh, that means it's probably a publisher problem.
Yeah, sounds like perhaps that the files were not correctly numbered.
Yeah.
All
right, so if you can find
Jenny Zero.
Yep,
Jenny Zero is being recalled, but you should try and get it because spoilers on page 12. And by the way, that is the reported page number from retailers who looked.
Yeah. Think of it kind of like the character in the Nevers who can quickly flash into the future and see a moment. That's what will happen if you read this book.
That being said, guys, when this book was announced and when they were marketing it, we worked very closely with Dave and Brock. And I feel terrible for those guys, having this happen to their book. And I'm making jokes, but only because if you don't laugh, you cry with some of this kind of stuff. These are guys who worked really hard on a book, and now it's getting recalled.
Yes.
So, I mean, did you ever have anything like this happen when you were, at Zenescope or anywhere?
I've had a couple odd, I've had the color plates not processed properly, so the color was off. Lettering not line up right. I've had a few little things, but nothing as severe as having an entire page from 3 issues later show up.
Right. No, I remember Headlopper a few years ago, and the book went nuts. The cover was green, and it was supposed to be yellow, and they recalled it. I'm going, really? That seems like a little piddly for recall, but the book went to like $25.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. But that's Jenny Zero. We're up against our next break. We've got a couple minutes before our next break. So I'm going to hit a couple of other indies here real fast. I keep talking about it because not enough people are reading it. Paranormal Hitman number 3 from the Behemoth Comics. Remember, guys, this is Ghostbusters meets The Sopranos. This is also a big week for Behemoth. They have 3 books out, which is, I think, the most books that I've seen them publish in one week. But this is Paranormal Hitmen have arrived in the afterlife. Alfonso Carboni is on a mission to find the ghosts that would like to have their revenge on Gene and Devin. Will Gene and Devin be able to stop Alfonso Carboni while saving Darla and Tori? Who is the mystery man helping Gene and Devin take a trip to the afterlife? Look, ghosts, hitmen, Sopranos, Ghostbusters. But the book I'm most excited about from Behemoth this week, and Dan, I apologize. I just realized I never sent you my list.
No, I'm just winging it.
You Promised Me Darkness, which is actually the book that I mentioned earlier. They're having some shipping issues. This book sold like double what the previous biggest bestseller for Behemoth ever did, which is a great problem to have, but also causing some shipping delays. So just be aware with You Promised Me Darkness, number 1. Every 75 years, Halley's Comet orbits around the sun. And every 75 years, there are cults who believe it will bring about the end of time. Or maybe it's the same cult. I don't know.
Every 75 years, they're wrong.
Right. I just assume that they're all wearing shell-toe Adidas, black jumpsuits, and drinking a bunch of Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Or they're in a park somewhere. All hail Zorp. When Zorp the Destroyer comes, your body will be used as fuel. But every time Halley's Comet orbits around the sun, and every time this happens, people around the world are born with incredible abilities, special auras that grant them supernatural skills. But those auras can also be cursed. Sound familiar? There are two comic books this week, vaguely similar, but this is where they start to diverge. In You Promised Me Darkness, 2 characters, Yuko and Sebastian, are siblings with special auras and are constantly running from an evil being known as the Anti-Everything, who feeds on these auras. So this is like a soul eater.
Yeah.
And every time it gets one, it gets stronger. So maybe it's a little bit like who's the guy in DC? Vandal Savage. This being is obsessed with these brothers' auras and will not stop until it feasts on them. So this is a survival story by 2 people with special powers given to them by an asteroid or a comet. I like this. I like the theory of this book. I mean, as much as I'm down for Phantom on the Scan, because I like Cullen, I like the premise of this book a little stronger.
I like the cover. I like the starkness of the cover. Just the outline of the red, and then the logo is just really gets your attention. So as long as it's a normal comic shop where you see the full front of the comic, it's going to look great. If it's one of those where you just see the top third, it's going to be a problem. But you're probably still going to look at it and go, what the hell's... Oh.
So this is Damian Connolly and John Gallagher with variant cover by someone called Bran Flakes and by Louisa Modica. There is, and I don't often do this, and I don't talk about it often when I do, but El Rey Comics has an exclusive that is absolutely fire that I'm excited for, but there are several other great covers for there's a Things from Another World Adam Borden variant that I hadn't seen that I need to check out. But guys, anytime there's a what the heck? Hey, I shouldn't click on things. I shouldn't look at things. I got to stop looking at things. I'm spending too much
time
time
during the show.
It's true. But anytime there's one of these small publishers that I'm going, look, this is a book I'm going to go deep on. This is a book I think has big upside. Trust me when I say this. This is one of them. Shout out to Behemoth Comics. But it's that time where we need to get our drinks of waters and stretch our legs and take a quick break. So we will be back in about 3 minutes here on The Experience.
Hi, I'm Robert Vendetti, professional comic book writer, and I want you to know about the new Bad Idea comic book series, Tankers. As the world well knows, I'm what's called a method writer. That means before I begin a project, I don't just study the material, So to take a deep dive into the subject, I came to the one place on Earth where I can operate mechanized combat equipment, dig for oil, and shoot dinosaurs. Texas tea, baby! I'm down to the tank! No oil yet? Every second of my immersive research experience guarantees that Tankers is unlike anything you've read from me before. I should know. I've read everything I've ever written. Tankers is about a crack team of mercenaries and mech suits who work for Greenleaf Oil. They get sent back in time to divert the comet to kill the dinosaurs. More dinosaurs in the past means more oil in the present. Who doesn't love that? And with a superstar art team providing breathtaking covers and interiors, Tankers is an action-fueled thrill ride of human versus dinosaur warfare that we can't wait for you to read. So go ahead, order Tankers today. I guarantee I'll be glad you did. As for me, I'll be finishing off these dinosaurs. Extinction Day.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle. We are back. This is In Stores This Week. And I just want to take this opportunity while we wait for Dan to rejoin us to remind you about some things, not the least of which is heading over to comicshoppingexperience.com, signing up for our mailing list, which we don't send out very often, so we don't bother you, signing up to be on our game shows, which are gearing up and really going into full throttle now. We are, in fact, shooting several episodes this coming week. And then finally, if you're on Facebook, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, do the same. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the bell. Head over to twitch.tv/the_EXP. Follow us over on Twitch. All of those things. And then, guys, I don't know if you're aware, but we constantly are bringing on new shows. And when I say constantly, I mean we're working every day to bring new shows to the experience, including two shows that you may not know of. One of them debuted a few weeks back. It's on Friday nights at 9 Eastern. It's called Friday Night Live from Comics Unlimited, featuring a great shop in Cleveland, Tennessee. And the owner, Nancy McCann, has been in the industry for like 30 plus years. She's been around forever and done it all. And then on Sunday afternoons at 5 or at 6, join us for the Latchkey Manifesto from Fat Jack's Comic Crypt, one of the oldest stores in the country, oldest continually operating comic book stores in the country. Brendan and Al on that show don't know the meaning of the word decaf. It's an absolute wild punk rock comic ride. So, Dan's back.
I'm back.
Woo!
How you doing?
Good. I'm somehow developing a headache, but we're gonna power through, because I think it's due to the fact that I need more energy drink.
All right.
So, do you want to start the Marvel books, or do you want to finish up the indies?
Let's go over to Marvel. We promised at the top of the hour we'd do Marvel, so let's do Marvel. You want to start off with Spider's Shadow?
Let's do the Spider-Mans back-to-back.
Okay.
So let's start with Non-Stop Spider-Man, which is a number 2.
Yes.
Non-Stop Spider-Man number 2. Guys, we found out in the first issue that Spider-Man is he's dealing with not necessarily a new problem for Spider-Man, but certainly a new look at a familiar problem, which is drugs. and what's happening to Peter Parker's cohorts and peers at Empire State University, and this drug epidemic that is sweeping the city.
Yep. Joe Kelly, Chris Bacalo.
Yeah. I did not think I was going to like issue number 1. I had serious concerns about issue number 1. And Joe Kelly was like, idiot, and wrote an absolutely amazing story that I was super hype about. And now number 2 is here, Chris Bachalo art. You know, it's hard for me to not like a Spider-Man book. And when I'm worried about not liking a Spider-Man book, I get even more nervous about it. And so to pick up a book that I thought, well, I'm not sure how I feel about this, and be just absolutely slapped across the face with my wrongness, was nice.
It's a good book. I think this one's going to be just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the line from the solicitation. Some familiar faces introduce their fists to Spider-Man's face as the plot thickens like a brick of plastic explosives. Yeah. I love the idea of a book that's just nonstop action, and that's what we're getting with this.
Right. You know what it kind of reminds me of on some level?
Run, Lola, Run?
No. What's the Keanu Reeves? Is it Keanu Reeves? Sandra Bullock on a bus?
Speed. Yeah.
You know, where it's like so far, issue 1 and the first few pages of issue 2 that I've seen, it doesn't let up. Your heart rate gets up reading this book, and it just kind of holds you there. So if you're faint of heart, maybe do something about that before you start.
Yeah. Take your blood pressure meds. Make sure you're feeling good. Definitely read it sitting down. Yeah. Don't stand up. Don't drink big caffeine before you watch it or read this.
Right.
Yeah.
If you've recently had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, maybe take a baby aspirin. But moving on from that one, though, into probably the most anticipated Spider book of the week.
Yes.
What if Peter Parker became Venom? Spider-Man, Spider Shadow, number 1. It is technically a what if book. Okay, this is important to note. Non-canon.
Which for newer readers is great, because that means that you can follow the story without having to know everything that's going on in all the different crossovers and all the different things. You can pick this book up, and it's, what if he didn't give up the black suit? What if, the consciousness took over like it did with Eddie Brock? Yeah. Plus, you got Chip Zdarsky and Pasquale Ferry. It's a great looking book.
The other thing that I want people to think about when they read this book is the differences between Peter and Eddie. In the sense that would the symbiote have had the same effect on somebody with Peter's mental fortitude, with someone having been through the things that Peter Parker has been through? Eddie Brock comes from a different place, so maybe it's a different thing. The great thing about Chip Zdarsky is that he has the knowledge of both characters. He has the knowledge of the Venom character. He has all of this great background that he could throw at all this stuff.
Right.
And the result is a story that feels more real than some of the other what ifs we've read were. So for me, it's got a lot of potential. I was very excited when they announced this book. I was super excited when they announced that Pasquale Ferry was doing the art, because I think he's really good. And, if we talk any more about Chip Zdarsky, he's going to have to start paying us.
Or just come on the show.
That's true. We could ask.
Yeah.
But no, it's Peter dealing with the things that make Peter Peter more.
Mhm.
And now adding the symbiote into it just makes the whole thing more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, I'm having trouble finding words tonight, Dan.
Well,
Tenuous.
I think we look at this the same way we're kind of looking at the Falcon and Winter Soldier right now with the new Cap and how the serum's affecting him. Here we have, well, maybe you're not watching it, but a lot of other people
No,
are.
in a world where Mighty Ducks Game Changers exists, I'm watching Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
Why are you on
Also, the thing of it is, and this is what I decided after episode 1 in the first 10 minutes of episode 2. I need to be able to sit uninterrupted
Mm.
and watch a few episodes. So now that we're through 4,
Yeah.
we're halfway done. Because it is only 8, right?
It's 6. There's only 6.
Oh, now that we're through 4, I should have done it last week. I thought it was an 8 episode. I'm going to take like a day and probably Sunday and turn my phone off.
Good.
And sit and watch it because I loved episode 1 and I love the first few minutes of episode 2. But getting text messages and getting Facebook alerts and stuff just pulls you out of that moment.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I've decided that that's how I need to consume this particular one.
by Sunday, you'll have 5 episodes.
I'm only going to watch the first 3.
Okay.
And then after episode 6 comes, I'll do the next.
Well, the point I was trying to make, and I won't relate it to what's going on in the story,
Well,
in Falcon, but the
just
idea is
wave when I put my headphone back in.
yeah, we've got Peter at his lowest point. You know, he's vulnerable, and then Hobgoblin attacks. So this extra power is offered to him, this darkness that he can call upon. But in doing so, and this is where he makes the choice to embrace it. Where in the standard Marvel universe, he fought it off. Here he embraces it, and we follow that. That's really the what if, not just whether Venom becomes Venom, whether he gives into the darkness at his lowest point. And when he does, then we see what happens. Is Peter still strong enough to control the symbiote, or does the symbiote take over Peter? So that's the real heart behind this book, and I think it's going to be a fantastic read. You can come back now. Come on back. There you go. All done.
What's funny is I took my headphone out and I sat down on my desk. I could just hear you say Venom. And so I'm like, I know he's still talking. I'll wait. No, but I'm look. Falcon Winter Soldier is awesome. Venom is awesome. Everything is awesome. Now we're into the Lego movie. There's a Marvel book that I want to talk about last.
Okay. Would it be the next Chip Zdarsky book? Zdarsky?
No.
Because we have another Chip book.
Right, we can go to that one next.
All right. For anybody who hasn't jumped on Daredevil yet, because it's the middle of a story.
They've been living in a cave.
Yeah, this is the start of a new story arc. This is Chip Zdarsky and Marco Checchetto, who are doing fantastic artwork on this. And the truth is out that Elektra is now the new Daredevil. We knew it, but now that everybody knows it. And having taken up the cowl, and in Matt Murdock's absence, Elektra, the deadliest assassin in the Marvel Universe, has a long road ahead of her as she works to protect the legacy of the man without fear. Old foes, new faces, lost loves. After the past 6 months, just imagine what secret superstar creators Chip Zdarsky and Marco
Checchetto.
For some reason in the solicitations an extra H in his name, have up their sleeves. Now, this is a good jumping in point because now that it's out there and we know we're looking at Elektra as Daredevil. Now, again, most of us, just by looking at the design and the fact she's carrying size, we knew it was Elektra. But yeah, that's a great
God,
cover.
That's a David Nakayama variant.
Oh, yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yep. David does great work. So,
oh man, I gotta show everybody one more. Give me a second to load her up here.
Okay, you guys should be reading Daredevil.
Oh wow.
Besides it being my favorite character in the Marvel Universe, this is just a great run that Chip Zdarsky's doing. And the idea that he's in jail and Elektra's taken over the legacy, this is a great, great thing. Oh, look at that. So he did bookends, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Love it.
So the cover we're looking at right now is the variant B by David Nakayama. There's also a Pachetto variant and some other exclusives for some other people. Carlos Pacheco, sorry.
Yeah.
Including a Rachel Rosenberg out there somewhere. So be checking out for those. But man, this is a great cover. And I love Daredevil. I love Chip Zdarsky. Elektra is... if anybody was ever going to pick up that mantle that wasn't him, this is who I want it to be. I often thought that, gee, it would be great if like Foggy Nelson had to go out and be Daredevil for a couple of nights. But Foggy would get his ass killed.
Oh my God, yes.
This is who, yeah.
Yeah.
This is who should do it. And I am in love with this current story. And the fact that it's a new jumping on point is a great opportunity for people who have missed out to jump back in. But that also means that issue 28 is the end of what will probably be volume 4 of the trades. So you can jump on the trades now.
Yep. I've got the first trade right here. Picked it up and was reading it. So definitely recommend these. And I think my favorite part is the fact that it doesn't feel like she's trying to be the new Daredevil. It feels like she knows that she's filling in for him until he comes back.
Well, and this volume is called Doing Time.
Yeah. So I'm just not a fan of the legacy idea. It bugs me a little bit. Some characters, it makes sense, like Captain America or Iron Man. I can kind of get behind the legacy idea because of what they symbolize. But Daredevil and Spider-Man, stuff like that, I don't think there needs to be another, it doesn't need a lineage passed down.
Well, I think, and I got into this a lot when they did the Jane Foster Thor run.
Okay.
Thor is bigger than just some blonde dude. Like, the mythos of Thor is bigger than that. Excuse me. And so for the Marvel Universe to suddenly be without Thor because Thor is no longer worthy to wield the hammer.
Yeah.
And the line of Odin is no longer worthy to wield the hammer. Someone has to carry the hammer. And that person is Thor. Whether you like that person or not is an irrelevancy. That person is Thor.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of the same mentality with a lot of these characters that I'm not saying forever, but for a minute, it's all right that somebody else is carrying the mantle.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like that when it happened to Thor, and I didn't fully understand that. But now that it's happening with Daredevil, I'm kind of coming to terms with my own opinions on it, which is to say that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
In the end of the day, it's going to end up being Matt Murdock again, just like it's going to be Thor. It's going to be Steve Rogers. They're eventually going to go back because that's what fans really want. And at the end of the day, they want people to keep buying the books. That's why Bruce Wayne always comes back. It's why, there's Hal Jordan and Barry Allen returned. It's what people want.
Nobody ever stays dead.
Yeah. Except Ben Parker.
And Namor for a while, but even he's back.
Yeah.
So.
It used to be Bucky and Jason Todd, but both of them are back too. Yeah. So just Ben Parker.
Ben Parker. But
So
speaking
then-
of Tor,
Thor.
number 14.
Yeah. Your favorite writer, Donny Cates.
I'm Thor.
You should do the whole show in that voice.
Do you remember when Thor, the first movie, was coming out and they were doing press and Conan O'Brien had Chris Hemsworth on?
Yes.
And they go, we're going to play a clip of the movie. And it was just, it was all real. And it was Chris Hemsworth. When the character go to speak, he'd go, I'm Thor. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
But this is the finale of this story, of the Prey story arc.
Yep.
Which is great because for those of you who missed out on the Thor train to begin with, getting back into Thor has probably been difficult because of how popular this book has been. Now you're coming to the end of a story arc, which means issue 15 is a great opportunity for you to jump back on this Thor train with Donny Cates and Nick Klein.
And a trade's coming for this, for previous story, for Prey. So,
Also, y'all, Beta Ray Bill and Throg, both in these books. What
And
more do you really want?
and Donald Blake's the bad guy.
Sure. I mean, the guy who played him in the first Thor movie is like the bad guy in everything. Hold on.
We saw a picture of him, right?
Hold, please.
Hold, please. Yes, welcome to live broadcast.
Oh, come on.
So you got Donny Cates and Nick Klein on here. They're wrapping up the Prey story where Donald Blake is the bad guy. He's amassed more power than the King of Asgard can know. And when the hammer comes down, only one man will remain, is what they're saying. This is going to be a big finale. This is Thor versus his old alter ego, basically, back when he needed to have one. I don't think I delayed enough.
No, because Marvel does a terrible job, or does a great job at burying these things.
I like him kicking back on the throne sideways, just holding the hammer with that weird ass hairdo. Does that mean that he's worthy?
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm mistaking Eric Selvig
Yes.
for. Yeah. I'm mistaking a Skarsgård.
Yes, which easily done, but yeah, all of Donald Blake we got was a photo of on his ID, I think.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
Glad we wasted that time.
Good. I'm sure the fans, the watchers enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you enjoyed that waste of time, please tell us in the comments.
Yes, we can do more like this.
Mhm.
We can do long pauses, awkward pauses.
Right. Well, Kyle Googles.
Yeah. Craig Ferguson used to make a whole thing out of awkward pauses. We could definitely do awkward pauses.
It only works if we have the mouth harp.
True.
Or the bag of money. What was the other one? Bag of money?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The last Marvel book I have on the list is Darkhawk, Heart of the Hawk.
I remember when Darkhawk came out because it was a new #1, a brand new character. And I was like, oh my God, something new to jump on for Marvel. This character looked awesome. And it's the same creative team. It's Tom DeFalco and Mike Manley back. It's 30 years ago, which now makes me feel old because it's almost as far back as Kyle is alive.
So I interviewed Danny Fingeroth about this, who wrote the original run.
Yes.
Tom oversaw the project but didn't contribute anything. But you have Kyle Higgins and Dan Abnett.
Okay.
With stories, as well as Danny Fingeroth. Whole thing drawn by Mike Manley, who was the co-creator with Tom DeFalco
Mhm.
of the original story. And so here's the way this works, guys. If you read this book, 3 stories written by 3 writers, 1 story. But what you're told is it's now, before, later. Like it's from 3 different parts. So Danny was telling me that the story he wrote is set in the 90s when the character originally came out. So it's set in the past. So all the references are to the past. Whereas the other 2 parts of the story are the future and present.
Mhm.
And it's a 30th anniversary of this book. And what it reveals, and I can say this safely without spoiling it, is that the last page of the book sets up a new Darkhawk miniseries.
Yay! I love the character. He's been popping up in some of the online video or the mobile video games. They've been starting to push him a little bit, you know. And he really feels like he was a combination of the era at the time. A little bit Power Ranger, a little bit stolen from other characters like Falcon's wings. He's got Wolverine's claws on one hand. A little bit of Richard Rider in the suddenly having powers. It was a fun character when he came out, and I look forward to this and to see what they're going to do with him next.
Right. I mean, it was great to get to talk to somebody who was an editor at Marvel and who wrote this book. And, he's Stan Lee's biographer, Danny Fingeroth.
Yeah, I've been reading the
book.
But
about the longevity of a career. I'm friends with a lot of guys who worked at Marvel or DC in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And a lot of them don't see the characters that they created getting a 30th anniversary celebration. And so what's it like to know that you created a character that 30 years later they're going, you know what? We should get 2 of the hottest writers in comics, and Kyle Higgins and Dan Abnett, to write parts of the story, and you should write another part, and we're going to celebrate 30 years of this character. Like that to me is one of the more fascinating aspects of this book, is that 1991 was the debut. I was 3. Was the debut of this character.
You were born in 1988?
Yes.
Oh, great. That's the year I graduated high school. That shows our age difference now.
Well, I was born that year, but I identify as significantly older. I'm, I identify as somewhere in my mid 50s. So, if you see the X-rays of my skeletal structure, you'd understand why. But no, like I said, I like Darkhawk. I like the people who made Darkhawk. I'm a big Tom DeFalco fan, big Mike Manley fan. I've been becoming friends with Danny Fingeroth. So it's one of those, is that for me, this is a great sort of look back into the history of Marvel at a time when Marvel was in a kind of a weird spot.
Yeah. Everything in the 80s was in a weird place, but yeah.
Right. But especially 1991, Marvel historically was in a really weird kind of position. And here comes Darkhawk, and is one of the hottest selling comics of the decade. It sold consistently for 5 or 6 years and was popular for 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot to be said for this.
And then vanished.
Right, which is one of those things that Marvel tends to do, right? They'll have a character that's hot, it'll go away, and then they'll just keep pushing it on you in different places. Yep. They let this one go away for a while and come back, so it was like, it's nice.
Yeah, there was a couple characters from that era they did that, like Sleepwalker was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some interesting, unique new characters, and then it's back when, at a time where they made new characters and not just derivations of existing ones.
It's true. So I've got a few more books. I think these are all no, there's some Image books that are on both of our lists.
Uh-huh.
So let's hit those real quick, and then we'll take a break.
All right.
Oh, we have one Boom Studios book that I think we need to talk about.
And one Zenoscope.
Well, I want to save Zenoscope for the last segment because it's my pick of the week.
Ah. All right, let's go to Boom.
But we'll do Mighty Morphin number 6. Morphin powers activate.
Speaking of Darkhawk.
Yep. I don't know what to say about this book, if I'm being real honest. I am in such a weird nostalgic place with the Power Rangers right now that I don't know. Like, to be investigating a new part of the story feels almost wrong to me.
Okay.
But Ryan Parrott has been doing such a great job on this series that I can't not read it. My oldest nephews are 5 and 3, and so we're introducing them to the Power Rangers, like in a way that they can understand. They lived in Japan for a time, and so the Power Rangers were everywhere. So at one point I asked them what I should name my store, and they go, the Power Ranger Dinosaur Store. But now they know what the Power Rangers are.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, for me, it's been this nostalgic walk down memory lane. And so with this, I feel like and I feel like exploring new content with these characters is weird. But again, I really liked it.
Yeah. And you got to go some new areas, right? It's the only way you expand the characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but this is, they found out the new Green Ranger's true identity.
Right.
And the team must join with former Ranger Grace Sterling to save Angel Grove from a new threat tied to Lord Zordon's surprising past. So the fact that they're exploring Zordon's history is interesting to me, and is maybe the most interesting part of this. Whereas the new Green Ranger thing, all right. But Zordon, giving me a history on Zordon is what's keeping me coming back.
They need a new Ranger, not a new color. We've never had a purple Ranger, right? Or an orange Ranger.
I think there was a purple Ranger in one of the Dino Wars ones. But no, I don't know if there's ever been an orange. I would like to see a gray. Or, one of those, like a more earth tone.
Yeah.
Because the thing about the Megazord is that it needs that kind of earthen feel. And I discovered Power Rangers at the same time I discovered Captain Planet. And so I always felt like the two teams should team up.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. There's one other Boom Studios book. Proctor Valley Road #2.
You said we only had one.
I forgot.
Joel
Is the Gray Rangers line always meh? Absolutely, Joel.
Yeah.
Should we go defeat Zordon? Meh. Morphin power activate, I suppose.
Yeah,
wait, that's just Daria. Never mind. But no, we Proctor Valley Road #2, Grant Morrison, Alex Child. So remember, these are three teenagers who, trying to raise money, took their friends out onto this haunted road, and all of a sudden their friends disappear, and they've got to try and get them back.
Try. I mean, that's the key, is try.
Right. But the thing about it is now everyone knows what has happened, and the authorities are involved. So these girls that are kind of leading this thing are trying to not get arrested and thrown in jail, but the town knows it's them, and everyone is trying to figure out what's going on. So the girls are faced with the possibility of going down for what everyone thinks is murder, or going back to the road and trying to save their friends. August, who is kind of the leader, goes back. And even if she survives, an even greater threat may have its eyes on the four friends. Grant Morrison, writing horror. Shocking.
Yep. Who would have thought?
So, let's do this. Let's take a real quick break.
All right.
We've got about 6 books left. But during this break, guys, if you're watching, stick around for the commercials, because the last commercial back during this break will be for one of the books we're going to talk about in the next segment. That's like shocking planning on my part. I don't normally think that far ahead. So we'll be back in just about a minute and a half here on The Experience. Stick with us.
Do you like ghost stories? I hope so. My name is Lawrence, a husband and a father. In life, I was a professor of religious literature and history. If I was still alive, I guess I'd still be all of those things. But I'm not. I'm dead. Like I said, ghost story. Believe me, I never imagined I'd be here, helping others heal in the afterlife. So where is here? This is the scene. It's the middle place where souls must confront the traumas of their past. Here I lead souls away from their demons that haunt them. I must also defend these lost souls from others who would prey on them. To do this, I use the power of the Staff of Truth to help them break free. It isn't easy. Clearly, they need help and hope, and that's where I come in. I am a guide of souls. I'm the shepherd.
This has been a difficult time for you. We know you are scared. Here at Regenerist Tech we have developed a safe and effective solution to our worldwide problem. Trust Regenerist. We give you back your life.
Welcome back, everybody. This is In Stores This Week. I'm Kyle. Dan will be rejoining us in a moment. There he is.
It's me.
Yes. So let's start with the book that we just played an ad for from Second Sight Publishing, Duplicant, #1.
I am not familiar with Second Sight. This is a new one to me.
Second Sight is a newer publisher. They've only been in Diamond about a month. They've been around for a little while, self-publishing. They're a majority black-owned company, but they are working with all kinds of people, primarily in the horror genre. So Duplicant #1 is the story of a guy named Matt Travers, who is a scientist and in the middle of a pandemic. The deal with the pandemic, though, is that it's not just one organ that gets attacked by the pandemic. It's random organs, and it kills that organ, and people have to get transplants for things, except that the government has made it so that you can't get transplants. Transplants are illegal. So between the government and private industry, they've come up with ways to create artificial organs, except for that they're terribly expensive. So you either have the option of dying or getting one of these artificial organs. And the people who choose to get these organs, if they can't afford to pay for them, are sold into essentially slavery until those organs are paid off. Many of them are never able to fully pay those organs off. And it's the story of this scientist who's trying to save humanity from this thing. But also the dark side of what happens when you do something like that. What happens when you're trying your hardest to do something good and it has bad results. And so this is that story. It's written by Carla Nappi, who's a fabulous writer, who comes from television. But it was originally written as a TV script and adapted as a comic book. So check it out. It's like I said, it calls into what are you willing to do to survive, but what happens when you don't control your own fate. So that's that. And then I actually have another book on my list from Second Sight. A book that we've been hearing about for a long time from a really hot indie writer right now, and Jonathan Hedrick, who you may know from The Recount, which has been wildly popular from Scout Comics. This is Freak Show Night. During his time in prison, Red was surrounded by the worst types of people, thieves, rapists, and murderers. Now, on the outside, he's surrounded by the living dead. Armed with the only thing he's ever known, violence, Red finds one last chance at redemption for a lifetime of sin. Freak Show Night has been around for a little while. It's been self-published. It's been at a couple of different publishers before landing here at Second Sight. And finally getting its release through wide distribution, which it deserves. It's a great look at the zombie story, and kind of in reading it, it's who are the real monsters?
Yeah.
You know, is it what you think, or is it who you are? Or is it what you do or who you are? So that's an interesting parallel to draw. I have a book from Titan Comics on the list as well.
Okay. We should have, yeah. From Hard Case.
Yes. Minky Woodcock, the girl who electrified Tesla. Look, if you're not reading the Hard Case books from Titan, that's okay, but these are phenomenal books. They're great stories. They're well written. Good, great art.
Some great novels too. I mean,
absolutely, and they're all based on these, the original novels, right?
Yep.
So I just want to, I want to plug this. It's one of those things is that there's a lot of Minky Woodcock stuff that they've done, but they also did Girl with a Dragon Tattoo and some of that kind of stuff, and have been telling these great novel stories for a while now over there at Titan. So do we want to hit our Image books?
Yeah, I got 2 on my list. Did you have any more?
Jules Verne's The Lighthouse.
David Hine, great writer. Brian Haberline, amazing artist. If you follow him on Facebook,
great guy.
Yeah, great guy. I've been next to him at a couple of conventions, and just really hit it off with the guy. Is amazing. The book, Jules Verne's Lighthouse. I could read the solicitation, but this is just a big sci-fi story. Edge of the Galaxy, there's a giant supercomputer known as the Lighthouse. It's the only brain powerful enough to navigate the ships through basically all the wormholes, like calculating light speed. And it cuts months and months of time off. So this supercomputer is what makes it possible to travel through the galaxy. There's 3 humans, 1 alien, and a nanny bot have manned the remote station for years in relatively peace. Why would anybody go after the lighthouse? But then Captain Congre shows up and his band of cutthroat pirates threatening the future of civilization as it reveals that each of the lighthouse crew has been hiding shocking secrets. He who controls the lighthouse controls this part of the galaxy. Now, it sounds a little bit like what they're doing with the new Star Wars books with, I can't remember the name of the villains in it, but how they're using the spaceways, how they're the hyperspace travel, the light, it's similar there. They're trying to control how travel is done through the galaxy. So that's why the lighthouse is very important.
And it's one of my favorite Jules Verne books. It's I like Jules Verne. There's the Lighthouse, there's 20,000 Leagues. Those for me are the two. Around the World in 80 Days is good, and some of his other lesser works are really good, but these are the two for me. And Brian Haberlin being one of the nicest people in comics.
Absolutely.
I can remember first time I met him was at C2E2 in Chicago, and Anomaly was just coming out, which is his creator-owned hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives me it's 11 by 17 hardcover. That's like a MSRP $50 book, so it's big and thick. And I had to carry that thing around on my back all day. And I'm relatively sure I still have back problems from it. But then I get it, and it's just so beautiful, and it's so well written, and it was doing something at the time that no one was doing with augmented reality.
Yep.
And so I made the decision then to always support Brian Haberlin in everything. And this is a great story. It looks so good.
Yeah.
And the adaptation of Jules Verne is something that I think we need more of in today's society.
Pick it up on the shelf. Even if you don't plan on buying it, take the moment, look through it, just pick it up, look at it. You'll probably end up taking it home with you.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic book. It's gorgeous, and you should buy it.
Yeah, not on the list, but worth mentioning this week from Image Comics is Homesick Pilots number 5 with Dan Waters. The trade paperback is coming out on that. We will have Dan Waters here on the Experience next week to talk about that. And Carmen number 2 from Gilliam March and David Mack. If you read issue 1, pick up issue 2. If you didn't read issue 1, I would suggest that before reading issue 2. Issue 1, super weird. Super weird. You're going to need the backstory. But if you can't find it, don't worry. I believe it's going to a second printing. So I didn't want to spend a ton of time on that one just because I know issue number 1 was way under ordered. And people need a chance to get on it. But also from Image Comics this week, Home, issue 1.
This one, man, talk about perfect timing for a story. You've got, with all the issues we're having at the border and we've had over the last few years, this is about a young immigrant boy coming up with his mother. They're seeking asylum. He gets pulled away from her by the Border Patrol, and something goes wrong. And it's not the normal trauma anxiety that you would expect. He's suddenly getting superpowers. So you've got basically the immigrant Superman story, but told from somebody trying to cross into the U.S. border, not just landing from a spaceship. And it's a 5-issue series with real world implications from migration, and then throw in extraordinary powers. And it's coming to you from Julio Anta and Anna Weisscheck. Yeah, Anna Weisscheck. And this book just looks fabulous to me. I think it's just the right time for this kind of book right now.
I normally don't go in for books that are directly political. I like my political comic books to be covert. I like them to be disguised as something else. It's why I like The Watchmen. It's a political book, but you don't think about it as a political book necessarily all the time. However, the way this story is presented with this character, and I don't know who as a teenager hasn't experienced some sort of trauma and gone, man, I wish I had superpowers. I'd fly right out of this here high school if I had superpowers. And now you've got this kid who is just seeking a better life with his family and developing these superpowers in the midst of this horrible, horrible, traumatic experience of being stripped away from his family. And guys, Julio Anta and Anna Weisscheck are new creators. This is their first thing. And it's at Image.
Mhm.
A lot of people can't say they had their first thing at Image, which makes this pretty special on a number of levels. So make sure you're picking this one up and checking it out. Apolitically, like politics aside, good comics is good comics.
Yeah. And good heart.
This is good comics.
Yeah. I mean, this has the politics to it, but it's told from the heart of the story,
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. And then one last book this week comes from our friends at Zenoscope Comics.
I brought this up 2 weeks ago, but
you did bring this up 2 weeks ago, which is what made me have my eyes open for it. This is Man Goat and the Bunnyman.
Yep. Man Goat and the Bunnyman #1. It's Joe Bruscia, Ralph Tedesco, Dave Franchini, and Edgar Salazar. That many writers, they plotted out together, and then Dave would be the one doing the script. You want to talk about it, or you want me to?
Well, I just want to mention that all of these guys have been working at Zenoscope and with Zenoscope for ever.
Yeah. Dave used to be behind the scenes. Dave worked his way up with the company, where Joe and Ralph are the ones that created the company. Dave was behind the scenes. I worked with him a lot when I was at Zenoscope, and then he just started getting into the writing, and now he does a lot of the writing, and he's very good. This is a twisted, funny, wow, it's just I've read the book.
Twisted and funny. I can't, what other words are there to describe this?
You've got Man Goat, who everybody just looks at like he's a guy, and then you've got Bunnyman, who is just kind of sad because he's cute and fuzzy, but people think he's just a guy in a cosplay suit, or in a what's the word I want?
Mascot suit.
He's a furry suit. Mm-hmm. So it's and they're monster hunters basically. They try to clean up the monsters. Oh, and when the cute Bunnyman guy gets into blood and stuff, he loses it and just goes on murder sprees.
There's also a love triangle story in it.
Yep.
That's worth noting. That adds even a further level of hilarity to this story.
Yep.
So don't miss out on that one. These are two guys who are just trying to live their life and do their job. And it doesn't always go that way for them.
Yeah. Bigfoot's a guest star, by the way. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jersey Devil, I'm told, makes an appearance, as does Nessie.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is one of the best reads I've had recently. Just completely surprised by it. Dave told me about it, sent me a copy of it, and just fell in love with it. So
I'm going to share with people. I got to get it loaded up here. There is a B cover that is, how do I put this? Everything Zenoscope. Everything everyone knows about Zenoscope is this B cover. But I love this cover. From the story we've told you and from the A cover that this is not what this book is.
Yes.
This book is not this. But I love the Man Goat and the Bunnyman t-shirt, that she's wearing, and the little fluffy bunny on top of her head, like it's a stuffed doll.
With the axe.
Right, with the axe. This is my pick of the week. And the line that sells it in the solicitation is, don't miss this action-packed first issue of this genre-bending horror comedy from the sick bastards at Zenoscope, which is absolutely true. Shout out to Ralph and Joe and Dave.
Yep.
Guys I've been dealing with known for years, and they are sick bastards, and that's why we love them.
Oh, yeah. Hey, anybody who gives me regular work, that's pretty cool.
It's true. It's true.
Yep.
As someone who works with him every week.
I think we hit our minute. We hit our 2 hours.
We are out, guys. That is our time. Thank you for tuning in to In Stores this week. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Miss Jen doing a special surprise show from 6 to 8. And weekly Rupp's World Party Time Comic Time Excellent from Chris Rupp in Fremont, as well as BCU tomorrow. Amani will be rejoined by Marcus Roberts of Second Sight Publishing to talk about collecting Black creator comics. So that'll be a great and very interesting conversation. It always is with those guys. So tune in tomorrow, and then Thursday we will be back to regular with What's in the Box and the Legends Lounge. It'll be Talking Shop with Leah Letterman, who has a book called Cafe Macabre on Kickstarter right now. And then What's in the Box with Miss Jen and Nerd News Now. After that, we will see everybody then. In the meantime, for Dan, I've been Kyle.
Yes.
And I'm going to go into my second job as the Bunnyman. We'll see everybody later. Bye, guys.